Let's tell you about the son of a doctor who died after a delay in paramedics reaching him. He says the healthcare system in the UK is broken after a damning report into his father's death. Dr Chan's son, Dr Aseem Malhotra, is with us now. Hi, thanks for joining us on the programme. Tell us what happened to your dad.
Hi, good morning, Kay. I remember the events surrounding his death very vividly because he called me just after 5 p.m. on Monday, the 26th of July, saying he had chest pains. And as a cardiologist myself, it didn't take me long to be concerned that it sounded like it was coming from the heart. He wasn't in a lot of distress, but he described it as a pain of what we say 6 out of 10. So he was moderately uncomfortable. I asked him to call an ambulance straight away, but he was a bit reluctant and preferred to call a neighbour. Actually, his neighbours happen to be doctors and they work at the local hospital, Manchester Royal Infirmary. So the neighbours came, and within a few minutes of assessing him, they also felt that he needs to go to hospital. So they called for an ambulance. And within a few minutes of that phone call, my dad suffered a cardiac arrest in front of them. So that initial 111 call was converted to 999. And Kay, this is something, I have been fully aware of and experienced and audited. And, our emergency responses to cardiac arrest are usually very good. The standard of care for many, many years has been an average response time in Manchester or London or most places of the country of less than 10 minutes. But actually, ultimately, what happened was the ambulance was delayed significantly, and it took about 33 minutes before they arrived at my dad's, to my dad's flat. They were the neighbours were carrying out CPR, and unfortunately, it was too late. There was nothing to shock, what we call a shockable rhythm. Normally, if you get to patients in time in a witness cardiac arrest like this, they will survive because you'll be able to shock them out of what we call a shockable rhythm. Now, I then called for an investigation. I contacted North West Ambulance Service, and they came out with this report only a few days ago, reported in the newspaper, that essentially there was a human error involved. But at the root of it, Kay, which I think is a bigger issue and why I say the healthcare system is broken, it was a private provider that actually made that error. And when we look at this, something my dad as a NHS GP, one of the champions of the NHS in terms of its core values, and someone had campaigned against private provision for many, many years, is because when you bring in private providers into a national health service, what happens normally is they try to cut costs, which means you get less staff, often poorer quality staff, more stressed out staff, and then the chances of error increase. So actually, the root of the problem to some degree is, unfortunately, commercial interests, if you like, within the NHS through private provision, which has increased since Andrew Lansley's Health and Social Care Act that was introduced in 2012, which my dad actually launched, was a lead signatory on a petition that led to a parliamentary debate, which at that time, Andy Burnham was the Shadow Secretary of State for Health. But the bill went through because of an overwhelming majority in Parliament at the time, because of a Conservative majority. And now really we're seeing the end result of all of that. Even before COVID, Kay, if you look at the National Health Service, we had a shortage of 100,000 staff. And we've also failed, I want to look at the bigger picture here rather than just point fingers at individuals. I think this is a system failure because, as you know, Kay, it's something we've discussed many times on this programme, we've failed to tackle prevention. The biggest driver of stress on the NHS is diet-related disease. It's only getting worse. The pandemic, which I describe as a fast pandemic, happened on a slow pandemic. Most of the people, other than age, that have been adversely affected by COVID are people who have excess body fat. And that's something that affects at least 60%, maybe 80% of UK adults. So this is a huge problem. And I would actually identify it being really commercial interests are at the heart of the NHS crisis, both internally and externally, because as well as us failing to tackle big food, if you like, these big food industries that really get away with marketing these ultra-processed foods, poorly regulated, that result in half of the British diet now being a form of junk food, if you like. We also have this other issue of too much medicine. So an over-medicated population, 1 in 5 hospital admissions in the over 65s are because of side effects of drugs. And again, what's happening here is, if you think about it, it's something I've researched in detail, is that doctors, when it comes to too much medicine, doctors are making clinical decisions on biased and corrupted information by the pharmaceutical industry. Just 2 weeks ago, this is a really important issue to mention as we go forward.
Yeah,
Just 2
we're
weeks ago,
almost
the
out of time,
BMJ.
Doctor. We're almost
Okay,
out
one
of time.
last
Very
thing.
quickly, if you would.
Yeah. BMJ did an investigation looking into Pfizer's vaccine. It suggests that there's been falsified data. We then have Sajid Javid saying that we should mandate the vaccine for all NHS staff. 100,000 staff in the NHS have refused a vaccine so far. This will backfire. We already got a shortage of staff. He needs to row back on this and make it informed choice, not mandate the vaccine. I think this could really destroy the NHS.
Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to join us on the programme this morning. Thank you. The North West Ambulance Service has responded.